Guys, more than over say I late come. Una know now only in the evening until they get time or I day off. If I not day off now only evening now until they get time. But waiting they happen and I be say, Gabon, it don't happen for their gay family ruling party. They don't put their side. Una buy the country pay. Did you pay? Everything has a limit now. You people should consider the poor masses. This is something that greediness is provoking in our Africa of today. Is because of the greedy people we have. So for those of una wey be so na never see wetin dey happen. How those uniform people na say, let me say I still put something wey dey column. How the country they turn and wanna take look. May God help Africa. Amen.
Adults are cancelled. The borders are closed until further notice. All the institutions of the Republic are dissolved.
Toutes les institutions de la République sont dissoutes.
Well, Kay, another coup in Africa, following shortly after the Niger coup happening in West Africa. Now, this is in Central Africa, Gabon.
Yeah, you've given the stats, a country that is just about 2.34 million, 2,341,000. That's the estimated population as at 2021. A very small country, but one that has some resources that should make it a nation that is thriving. But when you have one family run a nation like it's their family property, it is difficult to not hail the military from coming into power. But like my dear friend and colleague here, Rufai, said, you can't have illegality take over illegality. It's not done. Yes, it is not done. It is absolutely wrong to have coups anywhere on the continent of Africa, and we have to criticize it, we have to rebuke it, we have to chastise it, we have to say it is wrong. It can never be right under any condition. But there are certain situations that make you begin to wonder whether this is a reason, or maybe it's not, but I think it is a reason to listen to what the likes of George Weah, the president of Liberia, what he is saying. He's saying that Africa must listen to its people. Africa must look at action to be taken against those sit-tight leaders. How can one family choose to be in charge of a nation, run it to the ground, and then step on it and scrub their feet and trash it to nonsense? How can one family do that? One family for almost 60 years. This young Mr. Bongo, who's really not young, 64 years old, who's not now been pushed out of office, wants a third term. He's been there for more than 12 years. He wants a third term to keep him there. 2009 till now, that's about 13 years that he's been in office. And he still wants to remain in office. He's probably grooming his son and his daughter to become the next president and prime minister of the country and become the ministers as well. So it's just, it doesn't make any sense. So two clear things. Number one, coup is wrong. It should never be allowed and encouraged in Africa. But at the same time, African leaders, starting from our own dear nation, the largest black nation on earth, Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, responsibility and weight of being an African leader is on your shoulder. You are the only one that's being invited for a side meeting with President Biden. You have to make it clear that every leader on the continent of Africa that chooses to sit tight and turn a nation into their family business must be kicked out of office, legally or illegally, by every means possible. They have to be kicked out. And you have to look at how we make Africa better. So, Rufai and Ayo, I think I've said my piece.
Rufai.
Ayo, today words fail me. When you take a snapshot of our beautiful continent, the beauty is fading away because of the madness of its leaders. The beauty of Africa is fading away because people that are supposed to be proudly Africa, that are supposed to call on Mama Africa every time to bring peace and succor So its people are the ones taking the peace away from its people. The beauty of Africa is fading away. And I ask, where is Africa today? All over Africa, we have returned to the era of coups. Between 1957 and 1990, we had over 100 coups in Africa. In the space of a couple of months now, we've had 2 coups. The question is, where is it going to happen next on the African continent? What starts the cycle of all these coups? Bad leadership. But like I always say, you can't solve illegality with another illegality. Because the truth is, you just set up a chain reaction. So with this, I would like to condemn that coup this morning in Gabon. I would also condemn Ali Bongo, the seat-tied president of Gabon, that inherited the presidency like it's a family stool from his father, Omar Bongo. Despite the wealth and the oil resource in Gabon, never provided anything for the citizens, but provided all for themselves. Despite his own ill health, we all saw when Ali Bongo had a stroke and he had to move around in a gingerly form, but he still went ahead to sit tight in power. And that's what you see all over Africa. Should I talk about Bouteflika? Should I talk about Emerson Mnangagwa? That now he's won another election that are highly disputed in Zimbabwe. Ali Bongo pushed himself on and on. He finally won the election, but the coup plotters said, no, we can't allow this to continue in our country. When are we going to have that Africa that Thomas Isodowe Noel Sankara talks about? When are we going to have that Africa that Thomas Sankara will always say, la colonialism, abar. Imperialism, abar. Down with imperialism. Down with colonialism. Down with coups. Bad leadership, abar. When are we going to have that Africa? That sweet Africa. That bad leadership, imperialism, colonialism, everything bad will be a thing of the past. Today I cry for Africa, but I hope I don't cry too long.
Well, Gabon or Republic, Gabonais in its French, the French word for the country called Gabon, should or ought to be one of the richest countries on the continent of Africa, especially because of its many resources and the small population. So in terms of per capita income, it should be a thriving economy. However, unfortunately, due to bad leadership, has already been explained, and what almost seems like a monarchy, the country has not been able to achieve its full potential. And we saw reactions just yesterday into this morning. We got the reports that the military in Gabon have staged the coup, citing bad leadership and doing it on behalf of the Gabonese people and taking back their country. Already it's been established how many years the President Ali Bongo has been in office, his father inheriting the position from his father, Omar Bongo. And the fact that even though in many countries on the continent of Africa, we talk about the fact that we practice democracy, but democracy looks like an imperialism, looks like monarchy system, looks like a family business, doesn't look anything like what democracy should look like. And in a flawed democracy, you will find instances like this. This will make the 8th coup in recent times on the continent of Africa, a number of them situated in West Africa. Now here in Central Africa, Gabon has, if it's successful, will be the 8th. Now, a few things to note. The elections which produced or reproduced Ali Bongo as president on Sunday when he was announced as president, having said to have won 60% of the vote, was said to have been flawed and wrought with irregularities. One, they said some foreign broadcast stations were not allowed to participate. Two, some foreign observers as well were prevented from accessing. They actually cut off internet source and power at some point during the elections. They also said nationwide there were people who had protested, yet the government or the government didn't listen to the agitations of the people and presented a winner following that grossly flawed elections. Following that, we have seen the result. Again, as has been established, there is no justification for an unconstitutional response to a democracy, which a coup is. However, as has been established as well, especially during the Nigerian coup, if we don't deal with the civilian coup, then we should prepare ourselves for a military coup. And what do I mean by civilian coups? Where governments or individuals decide to make leadership or governing over the people a personal ambition and make it that of a family business. When the rule of law is disregarded and disobeyed flagrantly. When the leaders want a lifetime presidency for themselves with illegal pushing of their terms in office. These are civilian coups. And so if we must condemn military coups, we also must condemn the root, which are civilian coups across countries in Africa. I'm hoping that ECOWAS and the AU